All right. Well, it is a great pleasure to have a sweet client of mine, former client, because now her child has graduated from our program because of her hard work. And I just want to welcome you, Sarah. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm
Well,
excited.
great. I know when your child makes progress, it's you're eager to share with other people. So we appreciate you being here for that. So can you tell us a little bit about the situation, like when you noticed your child was having some struggles, when you thought, I've really got to get him some help? Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so just a quick short story is he was in public school from kindergarten to fifth grade. My husband and I, when he was a toddler, thought there's something there that wasn't there with our first kid.
Mm.
But we kind of just pushed it aside, let him go through school. About second grade, his second grade teacher started talking to us about the autism label, and he
Mm.
was um, he was tested and diagnosed with that. We got help because he was in public school, so we got help through SPED, which was great until about fifth grade, and just wasn't working out. So that was one of the reasons why we pulled him out to homeschool him, was just not fitting in the box, and just not understanding who he was and getting in trouble for stuff that he couldn't help. So we pulled him out to homeschool, and he was 11. And we, I, this is something I said I would never do. And God told me I was going to do it. So I did it. And
What was that? Homeschooling?
yes,
Okay, you just
never wanted to homeschool, never wanted to be a teacher. So even though a
okay.
parent is a teacher, so
Exactly.
I knew there was going to be some challenges anyways, because he's a daddy's boy, and mom and we butt heads, but that's okay.
Mm.
And I knew he had struggles, but I was like, well, I'm going to help him with this. I mean, I'm homeschooling him. This is going to help him. And so frustrations, oh my goodness, the frustrations that he had, that I had, because he was having frustrations. I mean, he would rip his papers up, like doing schoolwork, rip his papers up, wad them up, throw them, get mad, get angry. He used to do this when he was a toddler too, with Legos, just
Mm.
mad. I mean, his frustration level was way up there, emotions way up there. We noticed he didn't like hugging. He wasn't a hugger. He didn't, he really didn't like, he would wear clothes, but when we got home, we would just wear our shorts. We'd take socks off, shoes off, shirt off, just
So
certain little
he
things like that.
so he had some tactile defensiveness. His clothes were
Yes.
bothering him, so he just got rid of that irritation.
Got rid of that. He didn't, funny thing, he didn't like to be swaddled as a baby, didn't like to be covered up. I mean, even the nurses swaddling, because they swaddle so well, he would come out of those things. I just, from get-go, tactile,
From the get-go.
sensory stuff.
Hmm.
But what
So
really got
what do
me,
you think?
okay.
I was just going to say, what do you think that his day was like at school to have to keep those clothes on all day? Like during
Ye-
school, it had to have been really bothering him.
yes, yeah. And he would come home and take showers right after school.
Uh,
I just let him do it, you know, um,
mhm.
and then just put on shorts. So yeah, I'm sure that interfered with school, with the daily life of school. Another little thing is he never was diagnosed with Tourette's, but he had like a little form of it, of blurting out food words, and he didn't even know he was doing them, and he would get in trouble for that. Just because I mean, I get it. distracting the class, but
So
it's something he couldn't help.
yeah, for those that don't know what Tourette's is, it's an involuntary either vocal or movement, like they might cock their head or do something physical if they have Tourette's. And sometimes it's just a verbal, just all of a sudden something comes out and they don't even realize they're doing it and they can't control it. So getting in trouble for something that you can't control, that's really hard.
And it was depressing. And he would express to me that it like hurt his feelings or he was a bad kid, like, because, they'd write him up in his planner and for stuff like that. And it was depressing. I mean, he wanted to homeschool by this time. It was time. And, but
So
what,
tell us a little bit about your experience when you first started homeschooling.
it was scary because again, I'm not a teacher. I know I'm a parent, but I'm not a teacher of subjects. And, but he would just get so frustrated. That's like the biggest thing was just when he didn't understand, he needed to know what he wanted to know it right then and there. He didn't, it's like if I don't know it the first time, he's just gonna get mad. If something
Mhm.
doesn't work the first time, I'm gonna get mad. And when I say get mad, I'm like, I even have school papers too that he just took his pencil and just tore holes in it because he was pressing so
Mm.
hard on the papers and it was also, a lot of kids don't like school, but this was really aiding in that too because he was just frustrated with the learning, not getting things, but just the frustration level, and it was starting to affect our relationship, like the mother-son relationship. And that bothered me. I didn't want that because he's already a daddy's boy. So I I needed um I needed to still have that relationship with us. So
Sure.
that's what led us to you. Um,
Oh.
I was a member of a homeschool group, not a co-op, just a group. Like we had park days, field trips, stuff like that. We also had, or they had mentor moms. And
Oh.
so I stepped out of my comfort zone for homeschool, and I stepped out of my comfort zone for the group. And then I stepped out of my comfort zone for these mentor moms. And then the biggest thing was I finally just at one of the meetings was like, I need help. Um, it was, it was just genuinely a God thing because I was the only one there that day. And there was
Mhm.
two mentor moms, and each of them had done brain sprints.
Oh my
And
goodness.
yeah, so it was totally set by him for me. And so I just told them, what I was, a little about Jonah. They already knew a little about him too, but I just told them, what the struggles we were having, and they told me about brain sprints, and I was like, okay, so that's when I just started looking into and researching brain sprints because I knew my husband's a researcher,
Mhm.
and when I'm gonna, I need
He's
to
going to want to
have,
know, right? He's going to want
yes,
to know
yes,
all the
and
details.
yes, and he's the financial person, and I needed to have all my ducks in a row. And I did. I listened to some podcasts. I don't even remember all that I did. Researched it online. I talked to actually another mom, I believe, in the group that was doing it. Um, and so that's when I reached out for that phone interview.
So let me ask, did you have a different feeling after you got your program of what you were supposed to do we did an evaluation. We found
Mhm.
out where the glitches were that were causing him so much trouble. And then I gave you a program to do. Can you describe the difference in feeling when you just started out on your own and then with that plan in place? How did you feel?
I liked it because you gave me a program to help. It was a structured thing. And that's another thing I've had to learn with Jonah is he likes structure, even though he's a boy and all over the place. Structure is good. And so I just felt after the evaluation, and my husband came to the evaluation too. And afterwards, I think we felt like this all makes sense. Like light bulb went off in our heads. This totally just makes sense. And I felt like, okay, this is going to be hard. I mean, the program wasn't too long at first, just because you were getting us started. And I thought, oh no, but I'm a little OCD when it comes to that. And I'm like, we're going to do this. We're going to do everything that we are supposed to do. But it was relief because
Mm.
it was somebody that understood and could help us with this
Give
and this
you,
program.
yeah, if you, because I know from working with you that you were somebody that would do whatever if you just knew what to do, how
Yes.
to help. And we found out something early on in the process because he came in pretty ambidextrous, right? He was using both hands.
Yes. What he was predominantly right-handed. He used scissors left-handed. I came to you, one of the questions on the evaluation, I guess on the first evaluation was, have you ever considered your child, or does your child need to be the opposite hand? Something like that. And I checked yes. And you asked me about that. And I have uh, a lot of left-handed. My husband's left-handed. All the men in his family are left-handed. I'm right-handed. And then Jonah's using his scissors left-handed, but doing other things right-handed. We went through a trial, a hand dominance trial. But where I figured out he was ambidextrous was you just had me observe him for a bit before we
Mhm.
started the trial. And it was crazy just to see him. I just sat and watched. He loves to cook. He loves to be in the kitchen. And so I would just sit at the bar and just watch him. And he would just flip back and forth. It was like whatever hand was available is what he
Mhm.
used. It amazed me, that he could use a knife with two hands and he could draw and do one half with his left and one half with his right at the same time. It was just
Oh my.
crazy. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
So
that's,
some people really feel like being ambidextrous is an edge because you're able to use both hands and everybody else just uses one. But when you're talking about neurological efficiency, it's a whole different ball game. You really need to be predominantly one-handed for most things. Sometimes they can get away with being sports, with the other hand sometimes, but it's best to be one-handed. Even if you're ambidextrous, you want to choose the correct hand because you want everything else lined up alongside of that, the eye and the ear and the foot. So you want everything lined up on the same side to be most efficient because one side of your body is controlled by the opposite hemisphere of your brain. So if everything's stored in the right place and it can just come out easily, it makes life a whole lot easier. So tell tell us a little bit of the difference between before and after. I think we found out that he needed to switch, right? Switch his hand.
yes, yes. So we went through the trial and we switched from him being right-handed to left-handed. And we did the trial. And I'm telling you what, within 4 days, he was writing cursive left-handed. And I was like, okay, this is what, so we did. We switched him to left-handed, and he eats, writes, brushes his teeth, whatever, left-handed. I mean, he'll still use that right hand every now and then, but I still, just from the ambidextrous point, I'll still be like, switch your hand, and he'll just switch. But he is predominantly left-handed now. We're still kind of working on the eye and ear, but that's coming along. His emotions, it's funny because you don't really realize it until you go and answer questions on your evaluation every 4 months, 3 months. I think it was the second or third evaluation, it might have even been the third evaluation. I was like, oh my goodness, we have not had any frustrations. Like, we're not throwing things, we're not getting angry anymore. We just erase it instead of scratching holes in our paper or ripping our paper up or anything like that. I mean, I guess I just got used to the switch that it didn't even really dawn on me how he is more relaxed. Yes, we all get upset if we make a mistake or, something like that, but he is not a mad person. I mean, he is
That's
just so much more chill. He focuses better. Organization's getting there. We have an engineer mind, so I don't know if that plays a part in this organization too, but it's way better than it used to be. It's just, I am so happy that we switched. It sounds crazy. I tell everybody about this thing because this was the biggest thing for me. For him was this dominant switch. I mean, it just, a light bulb went off.
so I just want to clarify that for everybody listening, that not everybody that's emotional and frustrated and those kind of things is using the wrong hand. So this is one thing that you typically need a neurodevelopmentalist to help you with, determine which hand is truly the dominant hand. But it is genetic for the most part. Some ambidextrousness can be genetic as well. But we have to start with the hand because it's genetic. And the eye and the ear are indicators, but they're more indicators of where information is being stored, not of what hand you're supposed to be using. So, you don't want to say, well, they're using their left hand, so they should use their left eye. There's a lot of things that could influence hand dominance. We don't know for sure where it all starts. I mean, it could be as an infant that they're always laying on the in their crib on the same side, and one eye's kind of blocked, and they're using the other eye. It could start as early as that. It could be one eye is weaker, and so the brain is choosing the stronger eye to use for the dominant eye. There's lots of things that can influence dominance of the eye and ear. Like for the ear, if they have lots of ear infections and they've had it for a long time, they're basically having an ear occluded through fluid, and that can cause the brain to use the wrong ear. We always start with the hand, and oftentimes you really need, if they're switching back and forth after they're about 8 years old, then you're probably going to need some help determining that. So thanks so much for sharing about that. And the thing that I've noticed with a lot of kids that have some struggles is they get kind of a low self-esteem. They think they're not very smart or something, and they beat them up self up verbally, and it just kind of defeats them oftentimes. Did you have those kind of issues as well?
Yes, very much so. Very much a negative person on himself. I mean, it was sad to see that.
Mm,
Get it. Because I had learned to, that's what I did. And so I thought it was me actually portraying it for him too, and something I worked on and I did. And then he just kept, I mean, he's just, I'm not smart. I mean,
mm,
even to the point I'm ugly, fat, stuff like that. I mean, just beating himself
mm.
up. That's not, I mean, every now and then we have, we're broken people. So we
Right.
will have that in there. So but I can tell you what, he is nowhere near negative on himself like he used to be. It frightened me because I worried about him getting depressed.
Mm-hmm.
And now like that's taken away. Like I don't have that fear anymore of having a depressed child. But his confidence level just in everyday life too, riding a bike,
Yeah, tell a little bit about that
is
because he was older when he
yes. Yeah,
mm,
we started when he was 11 and he's 13 now. His coordination, balance, I just called him my noodle. He was like a noodle all the time.
mm,
And it's cute and funny, but then when you get older, it's like, oh, okay, we don't need to be such a noodle anymore. We need to have a little coordination, spatial awareness, like cutting me off, like walking, just,
mhm.
not staying in your lane. And I mean, big time, like tripping. Like I was nervous I was going to fall because he tripped me up and stuff like that. He's coordinated. He works out now. He goes to gym and he did karate and he was in a noodle riding a bike. I mean, he knew how to ride a bike, but you could always tell he was wobbly on his bike. And now he scares me because now he's wanting to try tricks and stuff. One of the biggest things was he did come in. It was just a couple of months ago, I believe, when he was outside riding a bike and he came up to me in the driveway and he was like, I think brain sprints really helped me with my balance and coordination. And I was like, oh, you do. To see him see that it was awesome, to see it
Well,
in
when you
himself.
right after when they're teenagers, it's sometimes a little challenging, because it's unusual things that they do, and why am I doing this? And this seems silly, and for them to recognize that, that gives them a little buy-in to keep going.
Yeah, I think it changed, even though it was a couple of months ago. I mean, he always did. He really is a rule follower too. So he
Mm-hmm.
always did his program, but I think, yeah, it just kind of clicked a little bit for the good possibility.
Reinforces,
Yeah.
yeah, reinforces that all that hard work was worth it.
Yes. Yes.
So, can you tell us a little bit about your feeling of like when you had done your program for a little while and you were seeing some success, you had some direction for your academics and that kind of thing. Tell us a little bit about how you felt about how you could really be successful in helping him.
This gave me confidence to actually I felt more confident. You're doing 50% of the work with him, math and stuff. Instead of just giving him something and we're doing it together. It gave me a lot more confidence in that I can teach him math and he's getting it because there were some stuff that he just didn't get. It didn't
Mhm.
register during his public school days that we had to go backtrack a little bit, but he's getting it. And it just made it so much easier to work with a kid that was not frustrated,
Mhm.
because it didn't make me frustrated. It just that he can sit down, he can focus. I can go have lunch with somebody and know that he will focus and get his work done.
That's
And yeah, he has a list. He likes list. So I made him a list off of his program list and
mhm.
for him to check off and he knows the rules and so he can stay focused and get that work done. So it gave me confidence in that he could do it on his own too.
That's
This stuff that he
terrific.
can do.
There that is a good point because there are some things in the program that the child, as soon as they learn how to do it, they can do it on their own with just your casual observance. And you can get a lot done without just being one-on-one with them the whole time. So there's activities that you needed to do with them that were one-on-one, and then some things that he could do on his own, so you can get the laundry done and get the lunch made, and all the things that we have to do as moms. So that's great. And then you did mention the 50% in math, and I just wanted to expand on that a little bit. So our whole philosophy is inputting information into the child's brain. So we believe that you have to do that frequently, with intensity. And if you're sitting right there with them, it's pretty intense, but the other thing is short times, not spending an hour on math, but maybe 10, 15 minutes on math. And you do a problem, he does a problem, where you're still inputting that information and they're more successful. So some people say, I don't have time to sit with my child for 15 minutes to do math. They just give them a worksheet after they've had maybe one instruction on something, and then they have to spend just as much time correcting the things that are wrong on the page as they would have if they just sat there and gave them the input that they needed. So it's a different way of doing things, but it's very effective. So if you have a child that's struggling in math at all, I encourage you to do that 50% instruction. Now, with my grandson, he's really good at math, and he started kind of tuning out when it was my turn. So I just have him be my secretary, and I go through it verbally with him, and then he writes the answers. I don't know if you had any of that issue, Sarah, but I just wanted to kind of explain they enjoy the program because they're successful. That's part of it.
Yes, that was one of the challenges, was him letting me do some math with him, or and I'm like, this is what we're supposed to do. And so, but yes, then you're not correcting so much. He gets it.
Right, right. Well, is there anything that you would like to share with other people that have children on the spectrum about your experience, or, just anything you'd like to share with them or tell them?
Like I said earlier, I'm an OCD person when it came to the program. I did have to learn from you to take a break, a day off
Yes.
sometimes. I can't thank you enough for this program. Do the work. I mean, it's your child. It will change them. Just do the work. And yes, fortunately I didn't have one that fought back. I didn't have a
Mm.
lot of conflict in that area. So I'm blessed in that area. Just do the work, take off a day if you need to. Don't give up. That's what I was going to say. Just don't give up. I was going to give up. I was going to throw in the towel before brain sprints. There were a few times during brain sprints that I was just like, I'm dead. But we all have those days. So
Sure.
just keep striving. And it just, not that we weren't a happy family, but you can just tell it's easier to go out in public and wait in the line at a restaurant with
Mhm.
him. That was another big thing, is like we just didn't go because he was so impatient and outbursts, and it looked like our kid had behavior problems, which really he didn't. It's amazing to see him thrive. But my biggest thing is just don't give up, and just do the work and trust the process. Yes, there is a lot of crazy things, but trust it. It's really amazing. I love to tell people about it, and I'm like, do you have time to sit down for an hour? Because I want to tell people about it. And our joke now, we kind of will joke and lean to each other and goes, maybe they need brain sprints. So, but
That's
yeah,
good.
yeah, it's an amazing program.
Well, thank you. I am pleasured and honored to be able to bring it to you and make the changes. But you're the one that did the work. You really made the changes. You just had to be equipped. So I thank you for putting in the work, because now you have a different situation. I was just thinking about the what you were talking about with the restaurant and waiting. And I'm thinking that he had some hypersensitivity to sound, didn't he, as
Oh,
well?
yes, yes. Noises, yes, which
Noises.
was, yeah, he did have, which I don't notice anymore. It was always crazy because I'm like, you're a loud kid, you're a very loud kid. But it was like, if he couldn't control it, it bothered
Mm,
him. So
hmm.
yes, noises, fire trucks, ambulance, sirens, stuff like that, smoke alarms, anything
Would just kind of send him over
funny.
the edge.
Yes, and funny story is, we moved into our new house a little bit ago, and we were having issues with smoke alarms. Now, I'm triggering now. Okay, he didn't panic like he would
Uh,
used to with the smoke
hmm.
alarm. I mean, yes, it's an annoying sound, but it wasn't screaming, crying, panicking,
Mm,
at the
hmm.
sound. And then also to smells. There was a little issue with smells going down like the laundry detergent aisle or a candle store. Um,
Mhm.
he doesn't complain. I can take him in Bath and Body Works now and he doesn't sit and complain about the smells.
Well, that's great. That's with the restaurant, when you mentioned that, it could have been sound that was really bothering him and smell.
Mhm.
And when you get overloaded in your sensory system, it could be visual, all kinds of things happening and
Yes.
movements and stuff. So he could have just been totally overloaded in his sensory system that made him just want to flee from there.
Yes. Yes.
That's just one really cool thing about the neurodevelopmental approach is it's very eclectic. It looks at the whole child instead of just one piece, and strives to get the sensory situation down, the glitches worked on, so there's new pathways in the brain, so the individual can react differently. So it all works together for good, and there's quite the variety of activities that you do. And I just want to tell you that I am so proud of you and Jonah for hanging in there and doing the hard work and having a different experience through life now.
Thank you. Us too. Well worth
Right.
it.
Okay. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.